This particular lot, which was oriented the same way as the other lot, is about 50 by 200, and the south exposure is on that 50-foot dimension side. So the front elevation is the south. As we talked about before, we started to make some choices about what type of glass, especially on the east and west side, because that's harder to control the sun. The sun is lower on those sides. So using low E glass on those two sides helps. You'll also notice the proximity to trees and other houses here. That will help shade some of that really direct sun on this particular home. And then you'll notice as you walk out, or if you've noticed when you walked in, there's a little eyebrow. There's just a little bit of an overhang over this window. Now with this being a gable, there was no overhang as you do on the other side of the house to protect the windows. So we add that eyebrow to shade this window. So in the summer, when the sun's higher, we get the benefit of the shade, and when it's lower in the winter, we get the benefit of the sun coming into the window. The other thing we had mentioned is when we were looking at the roof pitch, we were going to change it so that we could use the 2-foot framing dimensions. So we're not wasting plywood when we're sheeting that. Now, we had the choice of going with a lower pitch to get that even dimension or going with a higher pitch. But because this is a south-facing gable, we decided to go with a higher pitch to get closer to the optimum pitch for solar panels. So that's kind of what we were talking about when we were trying to prep it. You know, if we have a choice, let's do it so it's giving us the benefit of capturing the sun. And we also talked about, okay, how do we get that energy to the panel? The panel is located right over here. You'll notice all along this common wall, there's closets. So we have the opportunity to, wherever it makes sense, to drop those connections down to the panel. So this benefits in other design issues, but that was giving us the ability to bring that chase down. It also pulls those spaces away from the exterior wall so that we can get the benefit of light and windows. When you're choosing materials for your home, what you want to take a look at is what kind of chemicals and makeup they have to make sure as they're in your home, they're not going to make you sick. Important components to take a look at is cabinetry, finishes such as countertops, paint, and stain. All those have compounds called volatile organic compounds, which can escape after they're in your home and make you sick. Also things like glues have formaldehyde in them sometimes. Again, something that's not healthy for you or your home. During the construction process, there's a lot of glues, sealants, caulk that may have those compounds in them. So you need to work with your builder to make sure that they're making good choices on those materials and try to obtain low or no VOC materials at all times. Another thing is when the plumber is running his lines, he uses adhesive to put the pipes together. Most of those materials have a high VOC content. So you need to work with subcontractors to make sure they're aware of that issue too. Sealants on the outside also have high VOCs. They're not as important to get a low VOC content though, because it's outdoors and it's not trapped inside your home. So that would be an area that you don't necessarily have to have low VOC materials. Some finished materials that we did not put in this project but you would want to consider are materials that have recycled content, things that are salvaged, things that obviously have the low VOC but also use natural materials. For instance, in flooring, one of the things you would want to consider was wood salvaged floor, bamboo or cork, which are materials that are rapidly renewable, or natural product carpets such as wool, cotton, sisal. Any of those products would have a very low VOC, plus they don't have the tendency to have allergens or other pollutants that would affect the indoor air quality. Really, we encourage you to look at hard surface floors because that doesn't trap the dirt and dust. So it allows you to keep that from being airborne and affecting people who have allergies or other issues. Aside from wood, you can take a look at linoleum. You can also take concrete floor and finish it, and it becomes a very nice material. And again, low VOC, not a lot of materials that would cause issues as far as allergies. Other finished materials such as paints, you want to look for the VOC content. Interior paints, you want to make sure that it has a rating of 50 milliliters per gallon or less. If you can get 0 VOCs, that's even better. And there really are a lot of choices. You shouldn't have to pay additional now for interior paint that has a low VOC content. Same thing with stains and varnishes. You want to see if you can get something that's water-based or something that has a low VOC content. When you're looking at products, a lot of them will have some type of rating system. Some of the common ones are Floor Score, Green Guard. All of them are usually put on a product to indicate either low or no VOC or good indoor air quality aspects. Do your homework on these. Make sure that you understand what they're claiming and look to see if they're done by a third party or if they're done by the manufacturer.
Well, we couldn't have picked a better day to show exterior water management and the effects of landscaping on our demonstration green home. What we really want to show is what you have to do on a home to properly handle the rain, especially like the rain we're having today. Where's that water going to go? How do we handle it? And especially, how can you handle it with your landscaping? Let's take a look at something what we've done here. And this is a perfect example today, since it is raining, is, as you can see back in here, we're going to be building another home next year on the lot adjacent to the house we're on right now. It's low right before the construction starts. You can see all the water ponding. And what this is showing is you look back, the lot on this particular house is sloping towards the lot for the next home. When the next home is built, what we'll do is the ground will be raised up around the house, and we'll have kind of a swale, kind of a dip between the two houses where the lots come together. The water will go to the back where it's going to be taken to a small stormwater holding area, and towards the front where it goes into the storm water system, the sewer system. And around the basement window, the egress window, we can take a look, and what it does now is that window well is keeping the water, the window well is a little higher, keeping the water from going in around the window. And then we've got gravel in the bottom of that window well to catch any water that might possibly fall into the well. It goes down through the gravel and goes into the sump pump system. The nice thing about being able to see this much water in the rain that we're having today is with all the water surrounding us, especially in this area, this basement is bone dry because it was built correctly and it was waterproof correctly, and we have a very good water management system with a sump pump, and it's operating perfectly today. One thing we really want to pay attention to is how close the soil stays down from the bottom of any wood or building material on the house. This is about the right amount of distance, usually 8 to 12 inches of space between the siding and the ground. What we don't want to have is a lot of moisture that when rain comes in or snow builds up and wants to get in behind the siding and get into any wood that might take on moisture and cause some decay. We've put some mulch in here with a fabric underneath to keep the plants from coming up, any weeds or anything like that. Very low maintenance underneath the deck where they put gravel, so all I have to do is just blow it out of there maybe periodically. On this particular house, we had to kind of go with sod rather than seed. We had to have fast ground cover. That's the two options, is you can spend some time, save a little bit of money, seed it. It's going to take a little longer to fill in, or get immediate impact with sod like we have here. You do want to fit in with the neighborhood, and you do want to close your site up as fast as you possibly can for the sake of the neighbors and how it looks. So in this particular case, this sod's very good sod, and it's taken off, especially with all this rain and the warm weather we've had, and it really shows the house off when the yard's looking